Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video. I basically taught myself, and then I'd always been buying and selling things. My dad had a small coin shop, and I wanted to open a pawn shop. The once great pawn empire is now awash in lawsuits, betrayals, and scandals that never seem to end. Family feuds have turned into courtroom battles, trusted experts have been exposed as frauds, and the shop itself is barely staying afloat. Stay tuned, because the final blow is coming, and it's worse than anyone could have imagined. The gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas started out as a simple business run by Richard Oldman Harrison. He was tough, he knew his stuff, and he kept things running. When he died in 2018, everything changed. Rick, his son, turned the family business into a hit TV show, but he had to handle business without his father's advice. He wasn't as good at keeping the family together as he was at selling rare collectibles. Just when it looked like the shop could handle anything, someone betrayed them, threatening to break everything apart. The concept was genius. Customers brought in cool, weird, and sometimes priceless items, and Pawn Stars exploded in popularity when it aired on the History Channel in 2009. Priceless items, and the Harrison decided whether they were worth buying. Fortunately, none of the Playboys were worth any money. Most of them were in really bad condition, and there wasn't a prize in the bunch. Alright, Peaches will take care of you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks. Fans love the mix of business history and fun, plus there was the ongoing family banter and Chun-Li, the shop's goofy employee who became a fan favorite. But behind the scenes things were not so light-hearted. First came the legal drama with Rick's own mother, Joanne Harrison. The family feud exploded when she accused Rick of tricking her out of her stake in the business. She claimed that after waking up from a coma in the early 2000s, Rick made her sign over her 51% share of the pawn shop, something she later regretted when Richard Harrison passed. Joanne was supposed to inherit his 49% share, but Rick was not handing over the paperwork. Allegedly, she could not even get a proper accounting of over $500,000 worth of cash and silver. It got so bad that Joan sued her son, demanding her fair cut and a restraining order to stop him from selling off assets. Rick responded by saying that his mother was being influenced by outside forces. There were lawsuits, back-and-forth accusations, and it wasn't just family drama, it was war. As if things weren't bad enough, the COVID-19 pandemic caused the pawn shop's profits to drop so much that it only made $37,000 in 2020. But even that wasn't much. The financial damage wasn't even close to the personal tragedies the people on the show went through. For years, Chun-Li played the not-so-smart guy who kept his job, but off-screen, things were different. In 2012, he was caught on camera in a street fight. Then, in 2016, police raided his house as part of an investigation into a sexual assault. They found methamphetamine, marijuana, unregistered guns, and a lot of trouble. The sexual assault charges didn't stick, but the drugs and illegal weapons did, and Chun-Li had to take a plea deal worth $330,000 and an extra $30,000 to stay out of jail. He kept a low profile after that, but his reputation would never be the same. Rick's son Corey "Big O's" Harrison also engaged in reckless behavior while on a motorcycle trip. He got in trouble at a bar for peeing in public and threw a stool, which got him kicked out quickly. Even worse, he faced a lawsuit for allegedly damaging a rented RV and refusing to pay for it. Corey's assistant, according to the owner, made excuses and delayed returning the vehicle, leaving it a mess both inside and outside, littered with bottles and other trash. The owner estimated the damages at $30,000. Corey, of course, denied being guilty. Not only did the main group become embroiled in scandals, but the show also employed experts to evaluate rare items, which led to trouble for even these individuals. One of the pros at toys, Johnny H.C. Jr., was arrested for domestic abuse and forgery of an autograph. John Reznikoff's misidentification of a signature demonstrated that even so-called experts could make mistakes. However, we exposed Drew Max, a sports memorabilia expert, for knowingly listing fake items. He used his fame on TV to gain buyers' trust and then tricked them into buying worthless sports collectibles. Fans started to wonder if the whole show was a scam. Enter Olivia Black, who joined the show in 2012 and quickly became a fan favorite. She joined Pawn Stars in 2012 and quickly became a fan favorite. But then she disappeared. Fans were confused when nude photos of her from the past showed up online, and the show's creators fired her right away. She was incensed that the show, not the pawn shop, had fired her. She later went into modeling and adult entertainment, showing that she wasn't going to let the show get to her. Define her. The situation worsened when the pawn shop faced accusations of melting down a stolen antique coin collection. A man said his niece stole his $50,000 coin collection and sold it to Gold and Silver Pawn, but they were gone when he tried to get them back. The shop said they couldn't identify the coins and had probably melted them down, leaving the man with nothing. Even Rick's business ventures outside of the pawn shop failed. He tried to open Pawn Plaza, a shopping center with shops and restaurants, to capitalize on the show's fame, but it didn't do well. Shop owners blamed Rick for not promoting the place enough, and many businesses closed. The incident led to lawsuits, and Pawn Plaza became another failed experiment. Over the years, Pawn Stars lost its authenticity, and fans started to notice how scripted everything felt. The show started staging everything. Fights between cast members felt fake, and it turned into a family soap opera. By the time the 21st season aired, the show had lost its magic, its ratings had plummeted, and scandals were mounting. Once a fresh, fun take on pawn shop culture, it transformed into another reality show, surrounded by them. But just when the shop thought it had seen it all, an unexpected find made them question everything they knew about rare collectibles. When C.H. Lee was out running some boring shop chores, he was stopped in his tracks by something that stood tall in a driveway like a shiny prize, the Space Lender. Chum Lee knew a bit about bikes, but this one was a real gem. He had only seen them in pictures or maybe in a museum, but never up close. It looked too appealing to pass up, so he stopped to check it out. The owner was an old-school biker. The enthusiast had owned it since the early 1960s, when he got it for Christmas. It wasn't surprising, since there weren't many of these bikes left in the world. Designed by an ex-Tucker automobile engineer, only about 80 were ever made, and most ended up in basements or were scrapped because no big bike companies wanted to mass-produce them. That made this one extremely rare. After a series of classic back-and-forth negotiations, Chum Lee successfully negotiated a deal for $8,700, a remarkable price for such a rare bike. However, the real test came when Rick laid eyes on the bike. It was a perfect Space Lender, with all of its original paint and parts. It was a collector's dream. Rick needed a list. Once he saw how much these bikes could sell for, he did something unexpected. He gave Chun Li his first bonus, which was $11,000. What did Chun Li do with the extra money? Chun Li opted for gold teeth, as it seemed a logical choice. People just weren't ready for gold teeth. For over 50 years, this bike remained in perfect condition, untouched by paint, alterations, or exposure to rust. It was the kind of thing that peace museums would fight over, but it had been sitting in a garage waiting for the right person to come along and see how valuable it was. The son knew the transaction was a high-stakes gamble because he was putting almost $999,000 on something that might take a while to sell. However, he also understood that for the right collector, this was an exceptional opportunity to purchase a rare vintage bicycle. People paid a high price for these bikes due to their limited production, which resulted in a rapid sellout for each one that came up for sale. Rick wasn't the type to throw money around without a plan. If he was willing to give Chumley a bonus, it meant he really believed in the deal. Over the years, he had seen many bad deals, but this was different. This acquisition was something special, something rare, something that could make a lot of money. Some purchases are historic, some are newsworthy, and some make people doubt your judgment. When it comes to making bad choices, emotions often override rational thinking. Chumley never lets us down. This time, Chumley was drawn to an old Buick Regal, which he felt compelled to own for an inexplicable reason. The car walked into the store looking like it had been teleported straight from the 1980s, with a flashy paint job that screamed midlife crisis and bright neon colors. The seller walked in with a plan to sell this relic, saying that he had to get rid of it because he had too many cars and wanted at least $2,500, but he was happy to settle for $2,000. But anyone who knows cars can see that spending a lot on an old car doesn't make it worth more. In this case, it was just a shiny pile of junk with expensive wheels. The owner made a strong sales pitch, calling it the pinnacle of American luxury and bragging about replacing the seats, steering wheel, and sound system. The owner had painted traditional low-rider designs on the outside and added new wheels. It was called a masterpiece of customization, because the original V6 engine had been ripped out and replaced with an AV8. However, common sense dictated that spending money on modifications did not transform the car into a valuable asset. The resale value of a Buick Regal from that era was still depressingly low, no matter how much work had been put into making it look nice. Then came the moment everyone dreaded. The shop's biggest impulse buyer laid eyes on the car. The damage was already done. He couldn't keep his cool like a skilled negotiator should have. He immediately gushed over the vehicle, making the seller smile. The buyer's excitement had already captivated him, and the price was about to match. The seller put at least $10,000 into the car, but he knew deep down that he would never get that money back. He confidently set his price at $2,500, hoping for a miraculous outcome. People love to customize their cars, spending a lot on wheels and paint jobs, but it doesn't raise the car's value. The counter offer of $10,000 was not a good one, and that's when the real haggling began. The seller insisted that the tires alone were worth $1,100, which showed how disastrous his buying decisions had been. The back-and-forth negotiations were unbearable, but the seller refused to go below $2,000, and the buyer instantly decided that was a good deal, and the deal was sealed. The shop's most unpredictable spender had just bought a decades-old car that he had no right to own. As soon as he got it, he started making plans for more spending. The next stop was Count's Customs, a shop known for turning old cars into something a little more palatable. The pawn shop staff knew what was coming. Their coworker had no self-control when it came to spending money on useless things. A few days later, he strutted back into the shop beaming with pride, ready to show off what he thought was his latest masterpiece. It was easy to guess how his coworkers would respond. No one was impressed. The shop's owner, who had experienced numerous financial setbacks, found it hard to accept that $2,000 had been spent on a car that hardly merited a place in a junkyard. His expression was unmistakable. The incident was just the start of the financial disaster. We poured another $3,000 into this endless pit, bringing the total investment to a solid $5,000. What was the outcome of this significant expenditure? The grand switch was now capable of jumping. They added hydraulics, enabling the car to bounce independently. This was the worst choice anyone could have made. Knowing there was nothing he could do, the shop owner simply shook his head. The oldest member of the shop, who is known for being blunt and honest, had the most honest opinion. He called it the silliest thing he had ever seen. But the new owner of the car wasn't concerned about the criticism. He was excited to show off the hydraulic system by bouncing the car up and down like a child with a new toy. He even offered to give the oldest member of the shop a ride, but he turned him down with an unimpressed look. Ultimately, a car that no one wanted had cost $5,000. The man who sold it got $2,000 and was probably thrilled that someone had been stupid enough to buy the car from him. Meanwhile, the shop's biggest spender was sure he had made the best purchase of his life. What do you think? Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more interesting stories.